Hello, everyone. Good day, everyone. Welcome back to class. Yes, welcome back to class. How are you doing today? Okay. Yes, welcome back to the Teach4SDGs section as we'll be creating beautiful topic today. Okay. I am Yetunde Junai, the program associate for ADF Africa, and I, yes, I'm excited to be here. I know how we do this. Yes, we introduce ourselves. We let us know where you're joining us from, your name, where you're joining us from. But to add to that, I want us to just add one or two things about this last section that we had. Let's just put one or two things that we have learned from this section and how impactful it has been. Yes, I would love to see that. And so it will make us understand that, yes, we are all attentive and we are paying attention in class. As I hope that we have a notebook and a pen today to chart a lot of things because we have a resourceful personnel on the section today. We'll be treating the topic innovation and technology for sustainable development. Yes. Okay, let's keep our names and where we are joining from on the chat box. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming and let's put what we have learned. I want to see if we are actually gaining one or two things from these classes so that it won't just be like we are bringing fantastic facilitators and resourceful people here and we are not paying attention to them because if we had to pay them, we'll be paying them in millions. Yes. Yes. So I want to be assured. I want to be sure that okay, we are not wasting their time and also wasting our time here. All right, thank you so much. I can see on the chat box right now. Yes, that's good. Awesome. Fantastic. Well done. Well done. Well done, everyone. Well done. Okay, let's dive into today's section as today's topic will be innovation and tech for sustainable development. And this topic will be dealt with by Dr. Oluriola. Yes, uh, a very resourceful person will be sharing with us all she knows about innovation, and tech. Okay, I would like to read our profile to us right now so that we can understand who really Dr. Oluriola is. Okay, Dr. Oluwakemi Oluriola is an educational technology researcher and consultant, specializing in learning science and emerging technology in education. With expertise in digital literacy, ped- pedagogy, AI in education, and teacher empowerment. She has trained over 50,000 teachers globally. Wow, that is awesome. Yes, as a certified management consultant and lead consultant at Escutech Education Technology, a Microsoft Global Training Partner. She led her team to win the Microsoft Global Training Partner EMEA Award 2020. She has collaborated with organizations like UNESCO, MGIEP to scale digital teacher certification in Africa. Recognized as a Microsoft Innovative Educator Fellowship, Microsoft Global Learning Mentor, and Digit Institute Global Impactor. Dr. Oluwakemi is a sought after keynote speaker at international and local conferences. She served on advisory board, including the library advisory board of the African Leadership University, Boulevard Education Initiative, and Research Run, driving educational transformation in Africa. Yes, with a resulting clap with beautiful emojis, let's welcome Dr. Oluwakemi Oluriola. Yes. Yes, let's I want to see our cloud, see our emoji as we welcome her on board right now. Oh, thank you, Ma. Thank you. You have the floor now. You have the floor. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I hope my audio is loud enough. So this evening, we are looking at innovation and technology for education and curriculum development. Okay. And like I said, my name is Dr. Luriola Oluwakemi, and I will be running this session with you all. So innovation and technology for education and curriculum development. And we're educators in the house. This is, so why should we consider innovation and technology where education and curriculum development is concerned? And that's what we'll be looking at, why, the why and the how. And if you would all agree with me, there has been a drastic change in the dispensations that we are in. We've gone from the mechanized production era, where people discovered the power of steam and how the manufacturing and production industry were changed because of steam engines and the train and all that. And then we moved on from that mechanized production era to where we now were able to mass produce things because electricity came to be. We now had assembly lines. We now had different telegraphs and all that, micro machine tools and all. And during that era, there was that mass production boom. It became an industrial period and all that. And we've seen the world keeps evolving. We moved away from that mass production, assembly lines and all that. And we began to have smaller computing devices that made our production industry or our industries a bit differentiated. We had the automated production, and because we had computer advances, we had programming machines, and less people were needed for the assembly lines. With some things things changing, and then we went on to the this recent era, which we call the digital production era, and of course, where we talked about data, connect data from digital and physical world to drive insights, solve business solutions and all that. And we began to talk about what we call the digital disruption, fourth industrial revolution. And I'm sure some of us are yet coming to grips with what the fourth industrial revolution, because this discourse began not too long ago, 2 years back, 3 years back at most, 5 years back. And we began to come into the concept of the fourth industrial revolution. And while we were yet grasping, trying to understand what that was, we are already in the fifth, what I call the fifth AI revolution, which is the artificial intelligence revolution. If you are aware about the going on presently, you would know that the latest discourse, both industrially and even in the education sector, is around the concept of AI and its disruption in the educational sector. So being aware that we have this digital disruption going on, how do we as educators begin to embrace the thought of innovation and the use of this digital disruption to better our practice as educators and improve our educational outcomes? Because whether we like it or not, the world is changing, and therefore new skills are needed to fit into this changing world. Gone were the days where you would tell the kids or young people, just go to school. Once you get to school, come out with a first class degree, and once you have done that, your work is sure. That doesn't sell anymore. And that's why sometimes you hear people say, university scam or things like that. There's a way they put it now. That's simply because there's a disconnect between the academics and the town. There's a disconnect from what we call the gown and town. Because there are new skills needed now for this fourth industrial revolution and what I call fifth artificial intelligence revolution. And it is on us as educators, or we or stakeholders in the educational sector, the onus lies on us to provide these needed skills for the inputs that come into our system. Because the educational system, it's what it is, a system. You get inputs, they need to go through processing, and then we churn out outputs that are supposed to fit into the society. And so when we, who are the processors of the system, don't know the skills or have the skills needed, then our output wouldn't meet the demand of the society. And that's why I always repeat this quote, and since I found it, I've stuck with it because it's just so apt. It says, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of their tomorrow. Because we've seen from the previous slides, the continuous disruption, even in the society, even in the industry, and in the world as at large. And therefore, we can't, and that has prompted us to understand that there is a new skill demand to fit into the present day society. So we can't, as educators, afford to remain stagnant. I mean, we find this predominantly in the classroom these days. Teachers teach the way they have been taught. We not only teach today's students as we taught yesterday's students, but we still teach the way we were taught. And that was like 15, 20, 30 years ago. And it does not work effectively anymore. And unfortunately, in the educational sector, we see where we find teachers who pride themselves in the number of years of experience they have teaching a particular subject. Since I've been teaching maths for 32 years, so I know what I'm doing. While I agree that 1 + 1 is still equals 2, the methodology and the strategies for teaching today's students 1 + 1 has changed. And so we all embrace innovation and also the technology disruption that is happening and see how we can use it to enhance our practice and the teaching and learning process as a whole. So there are maybe no new concepts in your field of study, which I wouldn't totally agree, but let's say yes, the content may not have changed, but definitely there are modern pedagogies that can be used to actually bring those contents to place. Knowing that the world is changing, it's not only the world that is changing, even the students that we teach are changing. The set of students that you have in your classroom, if you've been a practicing teacher for a while, you would know that if you the mentality, the mindset, the capabilities and the wiring of the students we had in our classroom 5 years ago are not the same set of students you have in your classroom today. This generation, they said it's Gen Z. Another person said that, I mean, they call it now the Alpha generation because we've moved on from Z and going back to A. These kids are wired differently. And we can all attest to that. As many of those that have children, we see how they naturally flow with the use of technology. You just drop a device, and before you know it, they're manipulating things and even showing you things. You who have been using the device for a long while may not even have known that there are some things that you could accomplish. And these kids just flow into it easily, know where to go, like when they were in the belly, they had some tutorial classes about technology use. And so we need to recognize that they are wired differently. Not only are they wired differently, so it comes first and foremost understanding that the students in your classroom are wired differently, so you cannot afford to teach them like you taught yesterday's. Not talk about how you were taught. Secondly, their environment is different. The things that call for their attention, the things that they engage with, were not at the same level when you were learning. They're not the things that we're calling for your attention then. And we see students are engaged, they're distracted, bombarded with more engaging distractions. Their games, the TikTok and all that, those are more engaging discussion. And we want to teach the way we were taught. And we say that our students don't focus. And simply because they find the classrooms not as engaging as the distractions that are outside there. And solution is not to turn off TVs or ban smartphones like some schools have done and all that. No, the solution is for us as educators to turn on education. We need to turn on education, make it more engaging for our students so that we don't rob them of their future, because these are the things that they will engage with even in the workplace. These are the things that are driving today's society. So we need to find how we can turn on education instead of try to fight these things. We cannot run away from the fact that technology disruption is happening across board. And we must, as educators, see how we can embrace it and be innovative enough so that our classrooms can be as engaging as the distractions that our students face on a regular basis. So having come to this understanding, how has learning evolved over the course of human history? And what might the future hold for us as educators? One way that is certain that learning has evolved is that our learning ecosystem also has drastically changed. So this is kind of a representation of our yesterday's learning system. Like when I was at the university or even at the secondary school then, I mean, for some of us that went to schools in the 80s and in the 90s, before the advance of internet access and desktop devices, not talk about even phones. You know, this generation, they grew up into the phones and just believe that it has always been there. But this was it. Mobile phones became more prominent in Nigeria in the year 2000 plus. So in yesterday's learning ecosystem, the information you got as a student was basically from your teacher. You added on to that knowledge by going to the library, or maybe something a friend found somewhere, or if you were lucky enough to have your parents highly educated and in the same field of study. But we know these days this has changed. The learning ecosystem has advanced. And now you have a learner who can go to YouTube, visit a virtual museum, maybe it's a chemistry student, read a blog by an expert, even connect with the immediate message with a scientist concerning her concerns, be in a community in Facebook that is basically a community of practice, which is focused on just that same learning. You know, so make a phone call, do a video call. There are many branches and ways in which information can be garnered by our students. And one thing that we have seen even in recent times is that self-directed learning has also become a natural for today's students. So you see students even beyond their content, learning other skills on their own. And this isn't something that was predominant even during our time. So we see that today's learning ecosystem has changed. And that means that even our practice as educators has also changed. And so we need to be innovative and embrace the digital disruption that is happening and you know, as educators, and be at the forefront of it. We know that every time there is always a change, there is always that resistance by the educational sector. You know, you look at other sectors, you look at other industries, embracing this change, you know, working with it. Look at the banking sector, for instance. I can't remember the last time I went to a bank to do anything. But once upon a time, you couldn't do anything without going to a bank. And in those days, I remember, 80s, 90s, you get to a bank, you'll be given what we call tally numbers for you to wait. And for whenever, so you could go to the bank, pick up your tally number, quickly go to the market, do what you want to do, and come back to hope that you're still in number 92. But things have changed. You could actually stay off the bank because they have embraced the digital disruptions, the technologies and advancements that is happening. But we see that there's always a resistance, a slow embrace in the educational sector. The screenshots on this page are resistance to some of the changes that happened. You know, when slates, people moved away from writing on PowerPoints and and they started using slates. There was this complaint of, well, what would they do when their slates drop and break? They'll be unable to write. Then we moved from slate to paper. oh, today's students are dependent on paper too much. They don't know how to write on slates. I'm sure this sounds familiar with what the kind of complaints we're complaining today. And then when the ink came over, so what will happen when they run out of ink? And then calculators, they said, oh, students are depending too much on handheld calculators. They will not be able to calculate or think for themselves. And you see, so this is even way back. And so we still have this same rhetoric going on even as in the educational sector. And now that we have computers, now that we have AI and all that, there's this complaint, oh, students don't want to learn, all they want to do is be on their phones. All they want to do is be on social media. And so why can't we meet them on their phones? Why can't we meet them on their social media? I see some hands are raised, so I will take questions at a pause, but let me just run through these thoughts and then we'll take your questions at a particular point in time. So we've seen that this EdTech has actually come to play a very important role in today's education. And when we think about EdTech, the educational technology, we are not just talking about the hardware, because sometimes when people think EdTech, they think about the computers, they think about the mobile phones. We are talking about the combination of IT tools. We are talking about the combination of educational practices and some of the things that we are highlighting today. And that is aimed at facilitating and enhancing learning. It must be purposeful, not just the use of tech for tech's sake. So when we have what we call the technology in education and the technology of education. And when you talk about technology in education, we're talking about the tools. And we're talking about technology of education, we're talking about the practices and the system. And it's all aimed at facilitating and enhancing learning, not just the use of technology for technology's sake. And so I think at this point, I think I had a few hands raised, and maybe I should just take on before we go into the next session. So the next session right now, I know I've done some talking for a few minutes, and I want to have now throw this engagement into your to you all, and then we have some kind of interactive session for a few minutes before I go back to wrap up again. And so, but I saw some hands raised. Do you still have your questions before we move on to the next phase of this presentation?
Okay. Okay, should you want to ask a question, please, you can just raise your hand. And while we
I saw some hands raised earlier on. So if they still have that, or if not, I could go in to continue on. And then we'll address questions at the end, if that's okay.
Okay, anyone that wants to ask a question, please raise your hand before she moves to the next session.
Okay, so I would assume that, okay, I have one hand here. Okay, Abolade Kazim. And
okay, Asudlai. Sorry, apologies if I mispronounce your name. You can unmute your mic and ask your question. Asabdullah, you can unmute your mic and ask your question, please. Or Sulaiman, if you are there. Sulaiman, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello, sir.
Or they can just drop it on the chat so we can come into it later. And there's someone here on the chat.
Hello.
Yes, can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, ma, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk. So my question is that since we are talking about innovation, so ma, how can we take out the challenges we are facing in our current remote areas? The aspect of using computers or any technological tools in teaching in our classroom situation. Thank you.
Okay, so I understand that most of us are from low resource centers, and low resource communities actually work a lot with low resource schools. And when we talk about the slide I have on my screen, as you can see, talks about educational technology is the combination of ICT tools and educational practices. So when we talk about innovation, we're not just talking about only ICT tools, we're also talking about educational practices that will be aimed at facilitating and enhancing learning. So while I'm very aware that most of us may have limited technology, and there was a time I wrote an article on that topic. Effective use of technology is not about the quantity of technology you have at hand, but about the quality of use of whatever technology that you have. I, as an educator, I have done quite a lot with most of these low resource schools I engage with a single laptop. And so it's really not about how much technology you have, but how well you use that technology. And that's why we talk about ICT tools and then the educational practices. And sometimes I say, okay, as educators, let's start even from the very basics. You have a smartphone. As an educator, how has your smartphone enhanced your content preparation, your assessment, or whatever practice that you do in the school, starting even from you before you scale to your students? So it's really about maximizing what you have while you hope for better resources. Because I've even been to schools where they have hundreds of devices, and yet they are using their technology in the most minimal manner. And we will get there along the line. So it really isn't, Yobe Atsan, you are using annotate on the slides. And so, yeah, disfiguring my presentation. So it's really, like I said, so I understand that most of us are resources, but at the end, we will see, as we get to this, the last phase of this, we will get to see that it isn't really about the quantity of technology you have at hand, but the quality of use of whatever IT tool that you have at hand to enhance, even if it's just to a level, but at least you're recognizing what that tool can do for you and your students to improve the teaching and learning process. Yeah, I hope that answers your question a bit. I think I'll just take one more, so for time's sake, and see how I can quickly run up with this so that we can have more time for discussion at the end of. So just keep your questions, and we definitely will get through to them. So let me just take one more question.
Okay, can we take Abolade from Motion State? You can unmute your mic and ask your question, Abolade.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Abolade Wilapi from Osun State. Now, question actually is in line with what somebody has earlier raised, but I just want to add that in Osun State, we have schools across Osun State. Some schools are in a very rural area where we don't even have good network, and some of us are posted there. So even if we want to do some things like that in the school, the network would just not allow us. What can we do?
Yeah, so like I said, it's really, there are many other options. For instance, there are applications that you can use offline, and it will still at least do something different and help your students differently. So let me give you, there are some, for instance, we have some simulations that you could download. So maybe when you go where you have internet access, you download those simulations. I will mention it along the line, and then you can use it offline.
Okay.
So you have those kind of tools. Even your basic Office suite, your Microsoft Office suits, how have you used it to enhance your practice? So while we look for the big bang, while we look for the juicy fruits, what of the low-hanging fruits where innovation and technology use is concerned? Have we looked at those areas, and have we begun to see how we can maximize those assets the best as it is? So for those kind of situations, I actually recommend what I call no or low tech innovations, or no or low internet access innovation. So maybe when I go somewhere for a few minutes or for an hour, I have internet access, I do all I want to do, and then have it downloaded as a offline solution, and then I use it in my classroom where there is no internet connectivity.
Okay.
At least at a level I am supplementing my teaching. We will get that, we'll get there. So let's quickly move on so that I don't take too much time on this. We will still get to the question and answer. And I think by the time I'm done, your questions may have been answered. And for those that may still have answers, there'll be time for it. So let's move on to the next phase. So I'm going to a section now where I need your responses as teachers. I'm just going to be asking some general questions. And I will want us to get on our chats and respond there, and then we will walk along this phase. I think about 4 or 5 questions to go, and we will walk along this phase together. So please, I need your participation in this next phase. So the first question is, so I'm on the chat now. I'm going to be looking out for your responses. So the use of technology in education ensures better achievements of learning outcome. So if you believe it's true, if you believe it's false, please let me have your responses. I ask you not to be too quick in answering. Read the question again. The use of technology in education ensures better achievements of learning outcomes. So is it true, is it false? All right, I'm having a lot of people saying true, 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 true. And if we were at the Senate, we will say that the truths have it. Oh, I have one false here. That's interesting. Let me go back and see the person. I have Miriam Akonde from Lagos. Miriam Akonde, please know that I'm going to call on you to tell me why, amongst others, you say false. Miriam Akonde, please, if you're able to speak, please unmute yourself and tell me why you chose false as a response.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, ma. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, ma?
Yes, I can.
Okay, why I chose false is because I use technology very well in my classroom. And once we start, my learners don't really concentrate in class. They go to all other websites to solve. And if I'm not attentive enough, I will not know they're already not in the classroom, but they are there with me in body, but they are not there in souls. They are already surfing through the internet to do all other things that concerns them. So most times, we don't know how to restrict them from surfing the internet and still being in class. Some even download their videos, their movies that they want to watch in the classroom. And so if you are not smart enough, you will not know that's what they are doing. But you throw a question and they said, oh, I didn't get that. Oh, I'm not, and excuse me, miss, can you go back again? That is when you know they are not in the classroom. It's not as if technology is not good, but basically, I'm not sure it really gives us the outcome we want in the classroom. Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much. There are other few people who also said false, and I'm sure they're coming from your angle too. And so the use of technology in education ensures better achievements of learning outcome through true or false. Let's see what research says. So a lot of you have said true, a few people said false. We've had Madam Miriam give us her own reason why she said false. And so let's see, what does research say? What does research say? So we've been, there have been reviews on the use of tech in the classroom, and we've seen where people suggest, oh, just have more technology in the classroom and it will help. And we think it's a magic one, but the truth is that technology in the classroom in itself is insufficient to deliver learning outcomes, like my Madam Miriam had already said. So if you just drop technology in the hands of these people and not ensure that you have structured it in a way that it is effectively engaging them with the learning outcomes, then you will not get the learning outcome. As a matter of fact, it may actually become a distraction and a source of reduction of performance. So it is not in itself sufficient. Learning must occur when technology is combined with relevant and engaging content. That is one. It must be well-articulated instructional model, effective teaching presence, learner support, and an enabling learning environment. There are many factors that lead to technology integration actually influencing positively the learning outcomes. And for instance, the example that Ms. Miriam gave, there are many ways you can use to combat that problem, actually. Because we have what we call the triple E, which is enhancing, engaging, and extending. And those are frameworks that has to do with technology integration, but there's so much we can say in this short period. And one of the things that we've come to realize as in the educational technology field is that we have what we call false engagements. So when you see a child with a device and the child is scrolling and touching, doesn't mean the child is actually engaged with the objectives of that learning. And that's what Madam just shared. And there are ways that you can actually ensure that that happens. But let's just go on. So we see that as many of us have said, yes, it's actually true that tech can enhance learning outcomes, but cannot do that on its own. It's just like a very good car can take me from one destination to the other. But if I am a bad driver, I may not get to my destination. So the car has no problem, but it is how I drive the car that determines how quick and how safe I get to my destination. And it's the same thing with technology. So there are other factors that will influence that. Let's go to another question. Thank you for engaging with me, and please do continue to engage because I'm coming up with another question. So the second question says that the prime use of technology in teaching is to present content in innovative ways. The prime use of technology in teaching is to present content in innovative ways. True or false? So as many of us that may have questions along the line, just keep your questions, note them down, and we will have time for questions and answers. So don't let any of them slip away. Yes, so the prime use of technology in teaching is to present content in innovative ways. Thank you for your response. Keep them coming. Yes, I'm seeing true. Okay, I think I saw one false here. Okay, I have Emmanuel from Cameroon. Yeah, the first false I've seen so far. I think I'm going to call on you to tell me why. Okay, I'm seeing another false from Umar Farouk from Kaduna. So any of you who are the first respondents of false, please unmute and tell me why you chose false.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. When we say the prime use of technology, it's like the fundamental use. That is the basic reason why we use technology in teaching. And saying that it is to present content in an innovative way, I don't think it's actually true. Because for me, the prime reason is, first of all, to captivate the learners. You see, like presenting them with something they are used to in their environment. So it brings them, first of all, to a learning platform. And then from then, we can now present content. So for me, the prime use is to get the learners captivated and ready to learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. So we have the truths have a majority of the vote. And so if we were in the Senate, we will say the truths have it. Well, let's see what research also says concerning the response. So besides, you know, I love the last speaker because he caught on the concept, the word there, prime. And when we say the prime use, that's what it means, like the most important use or the major use of technology is to present content. That is just one nitty-bitty area where technology is concerned. And you see, sometimes when I go to schools and say, oh, we're content, we're, what do they say now? No, sometimes when I go for teacher trainings in schools and I ask them to rate themselves beginners, experts, you know, between beginners and experts, I think it's a four rating scale. And most of them say we're experts and everything. And by the time we get into the nitty-gritty of what they actually do with technology in their classrooms, it's basically on presentation of content. And that's just one aspect of the use of technology in the classroom. As a matter of fact, in some skills, that is the least that you can do. Digital tools can be used to offer personalization, choice of expression. I'll be explaining all that later. You can use it for assessments. You can use it to enhance collaboration in the classroom. Interesting presentation is just one of the many uses of technology in the classroom. So the question there that threw you off, for most of you that said true, was that you didn't take note of the word, the prime use. Yes, technology can be used for presentation, but it's not the prime use in the classroom. There are many other ways that you can use technology in your classroom to enhance your teaching and learning process. I hope we're enjoying this so far. So if we are enjoying it, let me say a thumbs up if I should continue with this question interactive session, or I should just move on to wrapping up. Okay. I think we have a few more questions and then let's. Oh, I've skipped further. Sorry. I hope you didn't see that. All right, so the next question is, greater use of internet by students results in better academic performance. Greater use of internet by students results in better academic performance. True or false? So the response is coming. All right, thank you so much. So let's see, your response is coming. Greater use of internet by students results in better academic performance. What do you think? Is that true? Okay, now I see that we are beginning to wake up. I'm seeing like a divided house here. We're having false and trues, more false. So I think the false are beginning to have it now. Yeah, a few people said true. Majority is saying false. Okay, so this person I have here that I'm looking at is Idowu Awotunde. I'm just speaking randomly. Idowu Awotunde, you said true. If you can hear me and you're able to speak, can you unmute yourself and tell me why you chose true?
Good evening, moderator. Because the internet is, and that's why the reason why I picked true was due to the, is it the adjective greater? I believe that greater means is a student that is sound, that is familiar with the subject matter, that could distinguish, will I say, authentic information compared to just write-ups by anybody. And the internet space is rich in with informations, videos, even notes by different authors that in some cases are kind of simpler methods. So with my own experience is true, but it all depends on the person that is using it. That's my submission.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much for your submission. So I see that in this particular question, we had very divided house, a lot of false. We have the truths, and then we have those that says it depends, not always, and so it's a, for them it's a comme ci comme ça. It's either way. And some says, well, the word greater. So greater here, greater use means you're using it much more, a lot. So that's what it means. And so let's see what I've seen your opinions. Most of you said it's false. Some people say it's true. Some say it depends. So it can be either way. And so we had Kubi in 2011 says a heavy internet is highly correlated with highly correlated with poor academic performance. And Fun and Chen, when they do theirs, found out that surfing the internet for course materials has a positive net effect on the intellectual development of their students. So we see the two sides of a coin where the use of internet is concerned. So it reveals both positive, and so everybody is correct. It can be true, it can be false, and like some other people have said, it depends on its use, it depends on the context and well. So teachers and students need to practice the skills to navigate their online life with greater awareness and competency. And so it's not just about using the internet. It's really about what you are doing there. And like the other lady who talked about the first time, their students going on to videos and all that, if you're using the internet not for academic purposes, then it will not improve your learning outcome. But if you're using the internet for course materials like we've seen in Funchen's own study, and not just internet just as it is broadly mentioned, then we can say, yes, it can have a positive net effect. So we need to be aware about this when we begin to engage our students in the use of technology, in the internet, and the digital space. And I think I'll take this as the last question. So true or false? Knowledge of digital tools is all that a teacher needs to utilize the new age digital pedagogies. So let me have your response coming in. Wow, Nathaniel, that was fast and very, very, very absolute. All right. Yeah. So here we have a lot of people saying false. So I think we've caught on with the gist, but I would really like to have Nathaniel speak briefly, because you came in first and you said absolutely false. That was quite strong. So Nathaniel Simpaba, if I got your pronunciation right, can you unmute and just why absolutely false?
Of a digital tool is not enough. You have to know how to effectively use it, depending on the context and the learner. So it's not enough to just be aware of the tool. You also need to go beyond that and make it contextual, know how to use it, when to use it. So yeah, that's from my understanding of your presentation.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so basically that's really what it is. Yes, you need to have a knowledge about the tools to even use them, but it isn't about the tools. And so we've seen where technical skills alone is not enough. And so people like us who really are in the digital pedagogy space, and that's one we're trying to bridge, because sometimes when you have this trainers come to teach, train teachers on ICT use, there's so much focus on the tool and not on the pedagogy. And if you don't know how to actually use that tool to improve your learning, your teaching and the learning process, then you have not effectively used it. So I may be great at making PowerPoint presentations, but how do I use that in the classroom? How does that help me to teach whatever subject I'm using to teach and all that? So it's not just about that ICT skills, it's more about knowledge of the pedagogy. And there's a framework that Mikra put and they call it the TPAC, and you talk about technology, pedagogical content knowledge, which talks about not only having the content knowledge or the pedagogical knowledge, but you also need technical knowledge, and how the three intercept, how they interplay to actually enhance effective use of these digital tools in the classroom. So, and there are other frameworks also that you could access as a teacher that helps you use digital tools rather, technology in the classroom. So to fully utilize digital technology to enhance your teaching, you must use technology purposefully. And when we're talking about it, we're not just presenting content, but also to enhance engagement. How do you ensure your students are engaged and not just passively listening to your presentation? That's why I say presenting content is just like one way, and one of the least things you could do with technology. Giving choice, and support to your learners. We look at that a little bit in depth, not really in depth, but we'll touch on that. Because I can see my time is fast running. You need to explore possibilities of teaching with different kinds of tools. So there's no one size fits all, and there's no one tool that is a magic tool. It depends on the topic, depends on the subject, depends on the topic, it depends on the strategy you want to use, the methodology you want to use in class. All that will determine the kind of tool that you will be using. And then you also need to learn skills. You need to improve your skills. Can we please mute those who the mics are on? All right. And so besides the digital knowledge, you need to apply innovative pedagogy with the technology, like including content, structural learner engagement. We talked about formative assessment, scaffolding, so many things you could do with technology. But this is a knowledge that you have to acquire to ensure that you're using technology effectively in your classroom. And besides that, you also need to have the skill to navigate the web effectively, and not just for you, but also to teach your students how to be responsible digital citizens. Because once you begin to use digital technology in the classroom, your students automatically we all become digital citizens, and there are things that we need to know about the digital space to ensure that we are getting the best from it. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of knowledge apart from just having the tool know-how. Yeah. So thank you all for joining me in this interactive session while I go into the last phase and do a quick wrap up so that we can have some few minutes to interact with the question and answer periods. And I do hope that this has been an enlightening interactive session for us. So how can we, initially I talked about technology. We talked about ICT tools, and then we talked about the practice of education. And I did mention there were two faces of technology, like a coin. You have the technology of education and technology in education. And when we talk about technology of education, we're talking about systems, practices, while technology in education, we're talking about tools, softwares, and all that. And actually, technology of education helps us to maximally and effectively use the technologies in education. And one of the principles that guide effective use of technology in education is what we call the UDL. I think UDL. Is anyone here familiar with the UDL? If you are, please just type in your response. What is UDL? If you're familiar with this concept, so I'm waiting to see someone. Has any of us come around this principle of yes, I've seen my answer. So universal design for learning. Thank you. So I have some, Mr. Vincent, Mr. Chinedu, thank you for your response. So yes, UDL is universal design for learning. And UDL is a concept that was borrowed from actually the engineering and architecture field. And so let me give you a scenario so you understand when we move on. So for instance, I'm sitting on a chair while I'm doing this presentation, and people who designed this chair I'm sitting on didn't just design it for somebody my weight and my height. They thought about quite a number of people who may need to use this chair, different heights. So the chair I'm sitting on, actually, you can adjust the height. It's those kind of adjustable chairs. And so they thought about the heights, they thought about the weight, they talked about ease of movement, they talked about everything that a person sitting on a chair, especially in an office, might want the chair to serve. And not just think that, the average height of somebody is maybe 5 feet 4 inches, and just design, or the average age is 60 kg, and just designed the chair for that height and that width. They thought about the variability of weights, the variability of heights, the variability of context of use while they were designing this chair. And that's where the concept of universal design came in. And then the educator sector borrowed that concept of the universal design, and we made it, borrowed it into universal design for learning. And basically, what does the universal design for learning speak to when it comes to the educational sector? It's a design of learning that is universally applicable, just like the way the chairs that you sit in cars or your airplanes, they've thought about almost every size of person, and at least you should find some form of comfort in using that chair. And so in the learning space, we are acknowledging the fact that all learners are different. And if I ask you, for time's sake, I may not go into that, to ask you the various ways your learners in your class are different, you will tell me things like their background, you tell me things like their level of speed of processing information, their IQ and all that. Even if they're all of the same age, they vary. So we know that all learners are different. So this is established as it is, and the fact. But then we also know that, having come to the understanding that all learners are different, we know that one method, can we please mute those who are behind? Facilitator, please. So we know that All learners, sorry, I'm being distracted by the background noise. Can we please mute? All right. Thank you very much. The noise was a bit distracting. And so like I said, the universal design for learning shows that, we've acknowledged that all learners are different, and I'm sure we all agree with that. Individual differences are there, even if they are of the same age group in your classrooms. And one method, so if we know that all learners are different, universal design for learning is saying that one method or resource or assessment cannot suit all. And if you would agree with me, you will know that there are some students in your class that are more vocal and don't write very well. And they have those who write very well, but don't respond very well. And so you find a child, I've seen this happen over and over, and you find a child that doesn't do well in the written exam, but you know that the child has very high capacity. And then you call the child and say, Chinwe, come here. What is this? You ask the same question you asked in the exam, and she gives it to you verbally in total. And so you can see that if she was given the opportunity to answer that same question verbally, she should have done better than doing it by writing. And even for us as adults, there are times that we prefer to write it out than actually to present, So we are all different. Even as adult learners, we're all different. There are some of you, if I say audibly, if I give you an audio direction to my place here, you will get it. Some of you will call me every 5 minutes. Ma'am, at this point, where next should I go? Even though I had given an initial audio description. And for some, it is still worse. You will still need to go on Google and follow the graphics because you need to see it visually. And so we see that even as adults, we still prefer to learn differently. And so we say, universal design for learning says one method, resource, or assessments cannot suit all. And so therefore, we need to design our learning activities. We need to design our classroom activities. We need to design our assessments in a way that it offers flexibility and support to the different learners that we have in the classroom. I know the question will be, oh, Ma, but we have fixed exams. While we do agree that we have fixed exams, but you don't have fixed activities in your class. And so you could actually help students by ensuring that you provide flexibility and support during your lesson designing. And that is where innovation comes to play. All we have said, we are coming down. And so you see that this has nothing to actually do where technology is concerned. So even if you're in low resource places, you can still be innovative to offer support to various learners, different learners in your classroom. But what technology does is that it offers more flexibility. It offers to address this diversity. So it just enhances the options that you have to address this diversity. So for instance, where I'm in classroom, where I need to bring out a picture and give a verbal description, with technology, I can combine the two and use an audiovisual. So that's just, what technology does in enhancing this. But it actually first comes with acknowledging that learners are different, and therefore we need to, UDL understanding can help us while we use technology to offer options in how content is represented, or how learners engage with a topic or a theme, and of course on how they also express what they know. So that's how technology supports this UDL principle. How do we represent the content we want to teach? How do the learners engage with the topic that we are teaching? And how do they express? How can we use technology to offer variability or flexibility in these various areas? And having said that, we know that we've come to understand so far that learning shift is happening now. And what are the learning shifts happening? We've seen teacher-led classrooms flip into project-based learning. We've seen traditional classrooms flip into flipped classrooms. We've seen independent learning. moving on to collaborative learning. And these are the things that are happening in today's world, in today's academic settings, in today's educational sectors. Whether we like it or not, that is where it is going. Teacher-centered learning, moving from student-centered to student-centered learning. So that shift has already taken place. It may be slower for others, but the truth is it will catch on to every classroom. Maybe not today, but in the nearest future. And there are quite a number of classrooms that have also moved, already shifted this way. And to make today's education successful, we need to gain a strategic and holistic view of education transformation at a system level. I'll not dwell so much in it. There are things I want to get to, and time is already fast spent. Learn how technical solutions can support that transformation. Explore a roadmap. Where are you now as a school? Where are you now as an educator? What roadmap are you setting for yourself? And how would you get there? So it's important to also have a roadmap and draft that digital transformation plan so that you can know where you are, what you need to, and what you need to get to where you need to get to. So the most important thing is starting. The most important thing is starting. So we've seen even in some of these low resource schools, because of government intervention, organizations or NGOs, we actually have EdTech in these classrooms. And so teachers, I tell my teachers, especially those I engage with in the low resource places, I say you don't need to, those in the military don't prepare for battle when the battle comes. They prepare for battle ahead of the time. So when it is time for battle, they are ready. So you don't start to enhance yourself with digital knowledge and digital skills when you have this supply. But if you had gone ahead to prepare yourselves, by the time you have these interventions, you are already ready to hit the ground running. So that is what I would always encourage teachers to do. Don't look at your present situation. You have emerging technologies right now in classrooms. You have virtual augmented regular educational hubs almost everywhere. You have AI platforms now that are the trending disruptions. You have computers, tablets, even mobile phones, STEM gadgets, a lot of emerging technologies right now. And so the future of education is actually now. The future of education is actually now. So we need to move forward so that we don't fall further behind. And so let me quickly move on. I'm going to skip all this because that's really what I want us to get to, which is because of time. Yeah. So how do we enhance EdTech for better teaching and learning? How do we enhance it for better teaching and learning? So some of the ways that we can do that is, personalizing assessments, providing real-time feedback. So, in those days when we do CA or tests, and you have a class of 80 students, it's difficult for you to mark those scripts and then give individual feedbacks. But with the use of technology that automatically marks, you can have more time to give feedback from the weaknesses or strengths that you have noticed. You can identify students that are at risk of failure using data analysis. You can automate grading using forms, Microsoft Forms and all that, reading progress, charts. So a lot of technology tools are out there that we can use to enhance our teaching and learning process. This will take so strategies that maximize impact. Quickly going to run around this. Now, for those who are talking about technology resources, 21st century learning design is a skill that even in a remote area, you can begin to use to enhance, be innovative in the way that you engage your students. And when we talk about 21st century learning design, we're talking about when you're teaching maths or Yoruba or Hausa, how are you helping your students learn about collaborative skills? These are 21st century skills required in the workplace these days. How are you helping them construct knowledge? How are you helping develop self-regulation? How are they able to solve real-world problems? You can see that use of ICT is just one of the skills out of the 21st century learning design skills there. And how are you helping them to communicate? How are you enhancing skilled communication in your classroom? And so for this 21st century learning design, we're asking collaboration as students required to work, share responsibilities and work together independently. Students for knowledge construction, are they required to construct or apply knowledge? Do they just know that A plus B is A, are they able to apply that knowledge in another context? Do the learning activities that you are giving your students to do in class, do they require solving real world problems, authentic problems, things that are actually happening? Do you use those as your case studies or scenarios when you are you are giving them a solution to solve? And are these student solutions things that they can actually implement in the world? When we're talking about self-regulations, you give them long-term activities that require for them to plan their own work and assess their own work and revise their own work with their students, from the students' feedback. Then the use of ICT, other passive consumers. That's why I say sometimes when we just use ICT to present content, that's the least level that we can go. Because if your students are still passive consumers of ICT and they're not active consumers, using it to design a product or such, then we haven't upgraded our ICT use. But even for those that say, oh, the students don't have devices, what of the other skills? What of collaboration? What of knowledge construction? What of self-regulation, problem solving and innovation? What of skilled communication? Are they required to communicate their ideas? Do you give them room to come and say, oh, this is an apple, or this is a tomato is planted in this area. The best time the pomegranate grows is this. What? Do you give them opportunity to communicate and develop their communication skills? Yeah, I'm talking very fast because my time is up, sorry. But these are things that we can actually bring into our classrooms to innovate the way that we actually engage our students. This is a lot. And then, of course, when we come to technology integration, we're talking about one of the very basic technology framework. We have a lot of technology frameworks, but one of the basic one is what we call the SAMR model. And for the SAMR model, we start with enhancements, we start from enhancements here, and then move on to transformation. So the S basically is substitution. So you want to use technology for a task with your students. You want to know what level are you integrating technology at. So when your technology use just a substitution, for instance, I would have given notes, but instead I put my notes in a PowerPoint presentation and I share, or a PDF, and I shared that PDF with my students. All I have done, I've given them a digital copy of my notes, and that is at the basic level of substitution. Augmentation is now when you add some tools to improve the functional for instance, if we were giving notes on the blackboard, it's not really possible to add audio or visual images to that note you are writing on the blackboard. But when you now convert it to digital notes, you can actually now import images and all that to those notes to enhance, to augment what you are saying. And so that's augmentation. You're increasing improving the functionality of your notes. Modification now, technology allows a significant task redesign. How can technology be used in these tasks in a way that would be impossible without technology? That's modification. And sometimes, so for instance, we say online collaboration. For instance, your Word documents, you share the link and you've divided the different topics, and you have your students all working together on the same document, collaborating to build up an essay, to write up an essay and all that, or design a particular thing. In the PowerPoint, you could share that link and it becomes a collaborative space. So that is modification. And then redefinition in itself is a task that cannot be performed without the use of technology. Technology has totally transformed it. And I will give you an example of, for instance, maybe I'm a physics specialist and you're a physics teacher, and there's a concept that you believe that this specialist can handle better and maybe has a lab, and you invite that specialist via Zoom to do a video conference with your students, and he shows them his lab, he does the demo and all that. That is redefining your activity, and this is impossible to replicate without technology. And so we have all that. So this is a lot in a few minutes, but I just wanted to at least touch on that so you could know that there are many ways that you can be innovative in the use of whether with or without technology in the classroom. And I would wrap up basically on highlighting what the principles of educational technology is and going forward. So the principle of purposiveness, we have to use it with purpose. I think that captures all that we've been saying since morning. Principle of economy, it's not about how much devices you have, the quantity, no, it's about the quality of use. Principle of ease of use. If it's going to be difficult, it's going to be distracting, it's going to be time wasting, then there is no need to use it. Principle of availability. So if you don't have internet access, you need to go for an application that is heavily dependent on internet use. You look for those that you can download and use offline. So accessibility is also, availability is also very key. Simplicity. How well are you using the basic that you have before you go on layering on the higher tech applications? So simplicity, stimulation, it has to be an activity that engages, that stimulates learning. And of course, self-preparation as a teacher, you should be on top of it. You should have gone through the apps, use the technology, and know what the students' experience may be, and be on top of it to assist them all the way. So thank you so much. I know this has been a lot in the future. I just try to keep to my 1 hour. I'm 5 minutes beyond time. Apologies. But thank you so much for having me. And I think I'll be ending my presentation here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Oluwakemi Oloriola. Thank you for being impactful. Thank you for the inspirational talk. I have really learned a lot from today's section, and I believe that everyone on the section has also done the same. As my note is filled here. Yes. I noticed field here. All right. So I want to appeal to everyone that we might not be able to take some other questions here at the moment, as a form will be shared with us where we put our questions, and the questions will be given answer to by Dr. Oluwakemi Olurin Ola accordingly. I hope we understand that. So I'm so sorry because of our time. I might not be able to do that presently. So thank you very much, Ma. Thank you. You can drop off the call right now. Yes, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate your contribution to this section on today. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much. Uh, yes, thank you. Yes, let's appreciate her. Let's appreciate her. She has done a wonderful job today. Yes, and I believe that we can all testify to that. Yes, let's keep appreciating her. Okay. All right, all right. Thank you, everyone. As I've communicated before now that before we shared with us to get questions, and we'll be getting the necessary answer accordingly. Yes, all the other information will be communicated to us too as the program goes on. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining this section, and I want to remind us to also follow ADF Africa on all our social media and use Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, so that you can follow up with our sections and our program as it goes on. So thank you all for attending this class today. Thank you for taking up your time to have this resourceful section. Yes, because without you might not have this program. But yes, you are here and you are ready to make necessary impact as we are also impacting students in our region, in our communities. Thank you everyone for joining. Okay, yes, that will be all for today. Thank you everyone. Every other information or communication will be passed on to us at the necessary time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.